We are going live, and we're going to have a little bit of a pregame show today. Little bit of a pregame show. And hopefully we'll have good audio. Let's check it out. See if I can pull this up. We are going live. Okay, and this is an emergency broadcast. Okay, audio sounds good. This is an emergency broadcast today. Emergency broadcast, and that's one of the reasons why we're starting early. And you can't really tell because of the white balance on this camera, but this shirt is like a very light purple, has a little pattern to it. Let's take a close-up here. And there's the stunner watch, and there's the shirt, which you really can't really tell, but it is a very light purple and an interesting pattern to it. And there's the two stunners on the bench, including the 002. People wanted a close-up. I had some people say, yeah, I want a close-up of that 002, so we got it on the bench today. Larry's in the house early for the pregame show. Stig's in the house. Kyle is in the house for the pregame show on this emergency broadcast. And before I get into the subject matter in this pre-show, I want to get into something that is happening as we speak on eBay. There was a very interesting alligator belt listed for sale, and of course I have a saved search for a 36-inch alligator belt, USA, for one made in USA, and one popped in, and it's a reasonable price, and I messaged the seller asking them to look close to see if there are any seams in the alligator portion of the belt. And after a couple of emails back and forth, they did send this close-up photo confirming that in fact there is a seam. They say there are actually two seams. You can see one in that photograph there, right there. You see that seam? Not easy to see, but it's there. And then, let me see this other photo. There they're kind of pointing to the seam with a pen. And then there's a closer up, and then you can see that seam straight across there at the bottom of that photo. And so this is the type of thing. This is a perfect example of making sure that you check out the details on these items. And I'll show you the original listing here too. Okay. And I was actually willing to make an offer on this belt. But oh shoot. What the heck happened there? Let's see. Okay, here we go. I was going to make an offer on this belt, but then I wanted to confirm before I confirmed the offer that it didn't have any seams. And here's the belt in question. Clearly alligator. Clearly a decent quality belt. It is a brass buckle. Made in Italy, the buckle itself. The belt is made in the USA. But those seams are a total fail. That's like buying a Tudor watch. You don't want the seams, folks. You don't want the seams. And I do have a couple of belts, maybe two, I think, that have seams. And they're okay, but you really want it to be one piece of alligator. Our Wags is in the house. Hey, Chip and everybody. Okay. And Leslie's in the house, calling all wrenchers. Yes, this is an emergency broadcast. Emergency broadcast. We got a real problem on our hands, folks. We got a real problem for some of the subscribers. I hate to say this, but it's a problem for some of the subscribers. Lovely Brianna's in the house, and I'm wearing purple because she's possibly going to call in to discuss this subject matter. And the subject is Bitcoin, folks. The subject is Bitcoin. Lance is in the house. Leslie's all over the place. Craig, is that your pet on the thumbnail? Yeah, that is the honey badger, the Bitcoin honey badger. Bitcoin doesn't mess around. It is the honey badger. And so pregame show says Triforce Rich. Pregame, Dr. Foodis is in the house. Baggy Shirt Gang. That's right. This is the Baggy Shirt Gang. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. This is it. I have got inside information that there is going to be a tremendous Bitcoin shortage, a supply shortage of Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is standing at $9,899. Just ticked over to $9,900 as you watched there. Just clicked over to $9,900. Now it's back down to $9,899. Okay. Earlier it went over 10,000 and then it pulled back, which we always expect that when you hit a big number like 10,000, there are people that want to sell. There are weak hands that want to sell at a number like that, and then, you know, it'll pull back a little bit. But the trend is up, and I have inside information that there are a lot of high net worth individuals that are starting to look seriously at Bitcoin and that are deciding that they want to get in on Bitcoin, high net worth individuals. And yes, there are OGs, original gangsters, original owners of Bitcoin, long-timers that have a lot of Bitcoin, and some of those guys are selling. Some of them are cashing out. I mean, they're not selling all their Bitcoin, but they're selling some of their Bitcoin. Somebody's got to eat, right? And so there is still some supply from those people they're selling. But the problem is, as that supply starts to dry up, right now, there is not enough new Bitcoin being issued in every block to meet the demand. Right now, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust alone is buying more Bitcoin than is being produced. And then there are several other big players that are also buying, and so there simply is not enough Bitcoin being produced to meet the supply. And as some of these OGs start pulling back and those supplies start drying up, there could be some serious shortages. Not to mention the retail buyers that are starting to come into the scene, right? So here's the thing. I did some more math, I did some more checking, and there are actually 46 million millionaires. That number is up from last time we talked about it. There are actually 46 million millionaires in the world, worldwide. And most experts say that there's only going to be about 18 million Bitcoin in circulation when all is said and done, because 21 million are going to be produced total. You know, since its inception, the total will be 21 million produced, but there are at least 3 million have been lost, or it's assumed have been lost for good. So really, in circulation, there's only going to be about 18 million. So with 46 million millionaires, you do the math. There's not even enough Bitcoin for each of those folks to have a half a Bitcoin, much less a whole Bitcoin. There's just not enough Bitcoin available. And when you figure that the Bitcoin is not evenly distributed anyway, there's people that have multiple Bitcoin, and they're not going to sell them. And so some of these high net worth individuals are going to have a lot of trouble getting a hold of even just one Bitcoin. And they're going to want a lot more than just one. So folks, I think what this adds up to here, is there's going to be some real problems going forward. Some people might have some real problems getting a hold of Bitcoin. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that that's where we might be headed here in the not too distant future. Will we get another pullback down to maybe 7,000 or even the 6,000 range? It's possible. I wouldn't count on it. It's possible. And of course, I'll buy at those levels. But we may not see levels much lower than where we are right now. We'll probably have a pullback early this week to maybe 9,600 or 9,500, something like that. But that might be it. That might be it. Okay. Zeus, what a bad day for me. My Datejust 36 had condensation under the crystal due to extreme humidity in Pennsylvania. That is not good. Dropped it off at my local AD, their authorized Rolex repair, thinking it's going to be at least 1K service. I don't think it'll be that much. Why don't you have them send it to one of the Rolex service centers and have it done right? When was the last time that watch was serviced? Please tell us. Give us more information. I don't think I would have the local AD do the servicing on it. I think I would have it go actually to the factory and have them do it right. That's probably what I would do. And I think it's not even going to be a K1000. I think it'll be less than that. And please don't have them polish it. Don't have them do anything but service it. If they have to replace the threaded crown to get a good seal and all that, something like that, fine. But I wouldn't have them mess with the watch any more than absolutely necessary. Okay. Sent a photo of a stunning Oris. There we go. Everyone needs to market by 1 to 5 BTC right now. No limit orders. None of that. None of that garbage. Market by. Craig, are we saying it's time to sell gold and buy Bitcoin to port TGV 2020? Well, I think there's I'm not trying to give financial advice on this channel, but I think there's a lot more upside potential to Bitcoin. Now, there are people that might also say, excuse me, that there's a bigger downside potential. That may be true. But yeah, I mean, how high can gold go, right? I mean, 5,000, you know, maybe, right? How high can Bitcoin go? Possibly a lot higher, right? So, percentage-wise, right? So, I think there's more potential upside with the Bitcoin. I have both, but I have a lot more Bitcoin, a lot more money in Bitcoin than I have in gold. I'll put it that way. I told him no polish. It's new old stock from 1997, sat unworn for 20 years. Okay. Well, again, I would have them send it to one of the service centers. I wouldn't have them service it there, especially if they're going to charge you $1,000. I mean, if they were going to charge you a lot less and do it in-house, that'd be one thing. But if they're going to charge you, you know, the same kind of money that Rolex would charge to completely overhaul the watch, see, when Rolex does it, they'll completely disassemble it and replace any worn parts. I mean, it'll come back like brand new, really. At least that's been my experience with them. Some other people have had bad experiences with them, but I think those are outliers. I think in most cases, it's going to come back like new. Triforce Riches in the house. What is the point of hanging on to all that BTC and dying with it when you have no children? That's a good question. I think that you should have a plan. You should have a transition plan for all your assets. Whether it be it's going to your children or it's going to some other entity or whatever. I mean, I think you should have a plan in place for your assets to go into good hands. I have a plan in place. I think everybody should have a plan in place, and it shouldn't necessarily be your children. Just because they're your children doesn't mean that they're going to be good stewards of your estate. It might be another entity. I think you want your estate to be in good hands. I would hope, right? If you worked hard to build up an estate, the last thing you want it to do is have it go to someone who is frivolous and whiles it away or whatever they're going to do that is not in the interest of what you would have wanted, right? You want somebody that's going to honor your wishes, I would think. So there you go. Lance is in the house. Okay, we're going to check his email before we get too far down the line here. Before we get too far down the line here. Okay. And it's an Oris hand wine dress watch. Okay, I'm going to pull this puppy up. And that is another example where I would really want to see the watch in person. I'm not a big one on gray dials. I just don't really see the purpose of it. but I'd really have to see it in person. It's not hateful by any means. And now, is that rose gold or is that yellow gold? If it's rose gold, of course, that would knock it out for me. Looks like it might be. But it's certainly not hateful. Certainly not hateful. Let's see here. Okay. My thing is, if there is moisture under the crystal, won't shipping to Rolex Service Center be too late due to the transfer? No. No. I don't think so. I think they're going to take the thing apart and clean it all out and replace anything that's damaged, and I think it's going to be like brand new. I had one done that had severe water damage. I bought it like that. I knew it had, the hands were corroded. I mean, it was a mess. Straight up water had gotten into it, and it showed it, right? And I bought it cheap, and I sent it to Rolex, and they went through it. And now that one, they did have to replace the hands. I think they even replaced the dial. I mean, it was a mess. It was a 3/4 size Datejust with a white gold bezel and a Jubilee bracelet. And it came back, it was like new. It was gorgeous when it came back. And it was a mess when I sent it to him. Kevin says, Craig is leaving his BTC to Bree. Okay, hey, maybe we'll talk about that. I think the lovely Bree is going to call in. If she calls in, maybe we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the transition plan. Deport TGV is in the house. There should be independent dealers that are qualified to service it. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Land's in the house yet, but yes, but you have to fight Rolex to keep them from replacing the dial and hands, thus ruin the value of the watch. I don't think it's going to matter that much on a Datejust, but again, if it doesn't need it, I wouldn't have it done. But if the hands are messed up in some way, shape, or form, then I would want it right. But yeah, I wouldn't want them to just frivolously replace something. But for example, if the dial is damaged, I wouldn't want to keep a damaged dial on my watch. I would want it right. I mean, of course, I'm not like these, quote, collectors. I don't buy watches to collect them. I buy watches to wear them. So I'm probably an outlier from that standpoint. Okay. Craig said all his BTC is for blue. There you go. That might be a transition plan. Triforce Rich says, if Audrey comes back to you, would you consider leaving her the BTC? I don't know if Audrey would be the right party to custody the BTC. I think, and I like them both, but I think Bree might have a stronger hand. I think she might have a stronger hand than the lovely Audrey. So there you go. But I mean, I think, first of all, I think Audrey and Bree would get along very well. So there's that also. Guys, Craig isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, there you go. Yeah, they had me already plotted, right? Cheatdown's in the house. He says, hi, Craig. Craig lost all his BTC in a speedboating accident. That's right. The boating accidents are very common in the Bitcoin community. There are boating accidents often. I mean, even in the middle of Kansas, there are boating accidents. Anytime, even if there's just a lake nearby, any kind of body of water, there tends to be a boating accident. Jaden says, thought I would be on time today, 5:05 p.m. We started a little pregame show. Kyle's in the house. Craig, what year was your father born? 1927. 1927. Yeah, that was a good year. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because I was just talking to somebody the other day about the interview that the Bitcoin Meister, when my dad interviewed the Bitcoin Meister back in the spring of 2017, before the big run-up. We were talking about Bitcoin, and I think it was about $2,500 at the time of that interview. And it was interesting because they were speculating as to whether or not Bitcoin would be $5,000 by 2020, whether or not it would double in price, right? And basically the discussion was, hey, it'd be great if Bitcoin just doubled in price between then, early 2017, and 2020, right? Well, of course, Bitcoin a lot more than doubled, and then had that blow off top at 20,000, and then, had that big long pullback. And now it seems to be on the run again. We'll see what happens here. And I'm hoping that this time, if there's a bull run later this year, which could be possible later this year, I'm hoping that it is a little less volatile, a little smoother. I'm not really hoping for a blow-off top like that. Like it goes up to like 250,000 and then it drops back down to 50,000. I mean, roller coasters are fun, but I've kind of had my fill of the roller coaster thing. But with Bitcoin, Bitcoin doesn't really care what I think, right? It's going to do what it's going to do. So it probably will be a roller coaster. It probably will have another blow-off top and blow off somewhere real high and then pull back. But I'll hold with a strong hand through the whole ups and downs. I'll come out the other side and people will be laughing and all, why didn't you sell and so on. And 10 years from now, they will have sold all their Bitcoin at highs, at what they thought was a high, right? They will have all sold their Bitcoin and I'll still have mine. So that's how that whole thing's going to work out. Craig, why don't you leave your assets to Rolex? Aren't they a charity? Good point. Your father just missed out on World War II. Was he in Korea? No. He was in he was in the Navy, and he actually shipped out on a ship, and he got seasick, and so he ended up they put him somewhere else or whatever, but yeah, he was actually in the Navy. So he's actually a veteran. There you go. But he wasn't in Korea. No. So yeah, I guess he was old enough to slip in at the end of World War II. Well, 1927, and we'd have 37. So 47 would be 20, right? So 1945 would be 18. You could certainly go in when you're 18, right? Back in the day. You might even have been able to go in when you're 17. I don't know what the age was during World War II. So there you go. I had an uncle that was in for a number of years. He was my dad's older brother. He was in serving also in the Navy for a couple of years because he was a couple of years older than my dad. So there you go. Let's see. Someone leaving their money to Rolex. Apparently read something that said the true reason that it was turned into a charity wasn't necessarily just tax purposes, but to not allow it to be acquired through a takeover. That could very well be the case. Maybe he wanted to control the destiny of it, right? You could donate all your money to Rolex and your grandkids still won't get on the list for the Daytona. Well, I wouldn't want my grandkids to have a Daytona, though, so there's that. Maybe a date 8. Let's see. Why deport TGV? Haha. Why does the watch community hate that guy? Didn't they have 14-year-olds in World War II? Well, some people lied also about their age and got in much younger. Yeah, that absolutely happened. And, I think they looked the other way. I think they were okay. Like, hey, if you want to come, hey, we need all the help we can get type of thing, right? Back in the day, that's, I think, the way that was. So, yeah. Oh, and then, yeah, what TGV says, I think some people lied to get in early. Yeah, so there you go. Might still happen in this day and age. Triforce Rich, I don't know if they still allow it, but if your parents signed an exception, you could go into the military before 18. At the very least, go through your basic training. There you go. TGV, Bark and Jack, Archie, all folks that have an annoying accent. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, I don't see Bree in the chat. Hopefully, she's going to call in, and we'll get a update on her from her on the Bitcoin. Okay, now, folks, since this is an emergency broadcast, we got 30 of you all watching, not nearly that many in the chat. Let me know in the chat if you have Bitcoin. If you currently have Bitcoin, put Y in the chat for yes. Put Y in the chat for yes if you have Bitcoin. And put no in the chat if you don't have Bitcoin. I'm just going to do an informal poll here to see who has Bitcoin. Oh, there's the lovely Bree. Let's answer this call. And I will get my headset on here. Okay, there you go. I hear something. I hear some kind of machinery. Is that a truck?
What was that?
Is that a truck?
Yeah, that was a truck.
Oh, okay. Okay, where are you?
I'm just walking.
Show us around. Show us what it looks like. Okay, so you're just kind of walking down the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's a beautiful day today.
Okay.
Kind of hot, but it's a good day.
Okay. Can you lift the phone up a little more so it's more of a down angle on you? That's more flattering, by the way. Models always like to have a down angle a little bit, if they can. Okay, real quick, let's get a report from you. You've learned a little bit today about Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
That I can get interest. So I had to go to my BlockFi account and see if I'm getting interest or not.
Okay.
And Craig helped me figure out how to do that. But I can transfer money from blockchain account to my BlockFi.
Okay. And so you have to trust them to have custody of your Bitcoin, and then they'll pay you interest for having it on deposit with them, just like if you were depositing money in a bank. And you also
like a third party.
And you also set up two-factor authentication.
Yes.
Using the Google
app. Yep.
Yep. And so that way it's a little bit safer.
Yes.
And the other thing about it is people say, well, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, always keep your control of your Bitcoin. And I agree with that to some extent, but here's the thing. It's also not good to have all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes it's good to spread your Bitcoin around a little bit, have in a couple of different wallets, have some in a hardware wallet, which I have the vast majority of my Bitcoin in a hardware wallet, and then get some interest on some. So that's okay to spread things around a little bit.
Right.
So, all right, and they were asking earlier about if something happens to me, and you get control of my Bitcoin, and they were they were wondering. I think they were kind of wondering, and some of the kind of the way the questions were asked is how strong a hand you would have with the Bitcoin.
Oh, very strong. I'm not selling mine. I won't sell any Bitcoin.
So you will
ever.
So you will be a very good custodian.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go, folks. You heard it right, direct from the young lady herself. She's no joke. So, and you're getting a good walk in today, and you're getting some exercising in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's really good. I just ate some salad.
Okay. All right. Well, and did you get that other deposit in?
I did. And
Okay.
I actually transferred money from my blockchain, so now I have more.
So did that go through also?
Yes, it did.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then they'll send you like 1 million emails, but it's worth it.
So you're going to start.
It's confirming. It confirms.
You're going to start seeing your You're going to start seeing your interest build up. You're going to start
Yes.
learning about the value of compound interest.
That's what every Bitcoiner should do.
That's right. Why not? Make some money on it. Okay. All right. I'm going to get back to the chat here, and we're going to let you
Okay.
finish your workout. Anything, and I'll show your website after.
Thank you.
But anything you'd like to add before I let you go?
To well, to exercise, because I feel like not many are doing it.
So people,
Or like just
you're
walking.
saying
It
people are
helps.
not really taking this opportunity to
Yeah.
really
Like
take.
they're either working or they're just staying home and not doing much.
Okay.
I
So
feel
that
like
they
like I see a lot of, I don't know.
so they
Like
got
I don't see many people walking much.
so they got to get motivated, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they do, and stay active as much as possible.
All right. Well, if they follow you
Yeah.
on your social media, they'll see the results, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, you're in pretty good
Yeah,
shape.
and it's fun
Yeah.
too. So
And you feel better when you're in great shape, right?
you do. You feel like you're more healthier. Feel like you could live a more years than you thought you would.
Now, yesterday we talked about arms. Remember that thing we set up with the rope and the pole for you to do for
Yeah.
forearms? Are
Yes.
you using that also?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, start using that every day. And remember, you can add water to it to make it heavier,
Yeah, I could.
right? So
But
just,
just from that, like it really helps. Like I can feel it.
okay. Well, just as you get stronger, just keep adding some more water. You got to push yourself.
Yes.
Okay? All right, I'm going to let you go and I'll show your website later.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
Be safe, everyone.
The lovely Bree.
Bye.
BreeFitDance.com. BreeFitDance.com. Okay, let's look at the results of the poll. We got 3 Y's in a row, and then we got 3 N's in a row. No, and an M. What's an M for? An N. Okay. So we got a bunch of no's in a row there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's. 5 people have 0 Bitcoin. Whoa. Maybe they have it and they just don't want to admit it. Leon says maybe Bree actually went out and did things instead of hiding at her house. Yeah, she goes out in the neighborhood there and walks around like we just saw. Kyle Jett says yes, and Lance says no. Lance is a young guy. He has no Bitcoin. Boy, what is that guy thinking? ET says Chainlink is my favorite crypto, though. Yeah, I would pass on all the altcoins. The altcoins are not a good long-term play, and I'm a long-term kind of guy. So I would get out of the alts and get into the Bitcoin if you're going to have, quote, cryptocurrency. I don't even like that term. I like just saying Bitcoin. Because here's the thing. There is no other valid use case for the blockchain technology. It's not, there's these people that say, oh, it's all about blockchain, not Bitcoin, right? No, not really. Because there's no reason to have a blockchain if you're not using it for Bitcoin. It makes no sense. These other projects that say they're going to use a blockchain for this, that, and the other thing, there's no real legitimate use case for a blockchain other than the Bitcoin blockchain. That's it. That's the only real reason to use it. So there you go. Kevin says yes. Mike says no, since I bought Tesla up 650%. There you go. Yeah, those kind of gains are nothing compared to the gains we've gotten in Bitcoin. We measure our gain in like 10,000%, 650% is nothing. So there you go. And I'm up 1,000% on Chainlink. Again, that's not a very good return in Bitcoin world. We're up a lot more than that. The long-term thinkers are up a lot more than that. And when Chainlink crashes and burns, then you'll lose all of those gains is the problem. And that's the problem, is the altcoiners generally don't know when to get out. They don't get out at the right time, most of them. Most of them get wrecked. Some of them get out at the right time. But with Bitcoin, you don't have to get out. You can just hold. And over time, you'll do really well if you just hold, right? You don't, because the altcoins come and go. That's the problem, is they come and go, right? There's been 10,000 altcoins, and like none of them have been successful, right? Long term. And so they all come and go. And so you have to be able to time it. You have to be able to time the market. You need to be able to get in and get out, right? And some people are good at that. I'll grant them that. Some people are good at that, but most get burned. Most get burned on that whole deal. Kevin says, how hard or easy is it to sell off BTC? It's very liquid. It's very easy to sell. Just send it over to Coinbase, have an account with Coinbase, and you can sell it instantly. You sell it basically. Let's pull up this chart. That's what we're seeing here. Is people are buying and selling right there. That's what's happening right here on pro.coinbase.com. That's where you would do it. You would move it into your account there, and then you can instantly sell it. It's very liquid. And that's the advantage of Bitcoin over a lot of these altcoins, because a lot of the altcoins are not very liquid, and they can be very difficult to sell. And you start selling some, and then the price crashes because there's no liquidity, right? And so you get stuck and you get burned, and that's how that whole thing works. Let's see. After Bree gets access to that BTC, she'll be heading to Las Vegas and Mercedes the same day. Craig's BTC will never be in that wallet again. LOL. See, Triforce Rich doesn't have faith in human beings. And Blue's laughing out loud. Mike's in the house. Bree is going. Derek says Bree is going with Craig to Rolex. There you go. And that BTC will need sunglasses when it finally leaves the wallet. Craig, I walk 10 miles per day, fella. There you go. Good job. Dr. Fastus, market by RN, whatever that is. I think we have no coiners here, Craig. My daughter told me how to buy them on the web. Link is a poop coin. Exactly. Basically, all altcoins are poop coins. I have both been buying since 2016. There you go. And we're fighting central banking here, not trying to build poop coins. I love you, Craig, but Chainlink is the real deal. All the altcoiners always say that. They always say their altcoin's the real deal. There's no way. They have a terrible track record. They all fail. I mean, look at Ethereum. I mean, it's a total joke. And people are still buying it, by the way. People are still buying Ethereum, and it's a total fail. Really hilarious stuff. Blues in the house. When you buy Bitcoin, are you providing your social security number online through Coinbase? Yes, Coinbase does have know your customer. They have to be compliant. I mean, there are ways to buy Bitcoin where you don't have to give your information. There's local Bitcoins. You know, you do a meetup with somebody and you pay cash, and but that has risks associated with it, as you can imagine. But Coinbase, it's okay to buy your Bitcoin on Coinbase and then move it off of there to secure storage. And you don't have a problem unless you sell it. If you move it back to Coinbase and then sell it, now all of a sudden you've got to pay that capital gain, just like any other capital gain, right? So you got to report it and you got to pay the capital gain. So, it's no different than any other investment from that standpoint. Let's see here. I converted half my link and got 5 full BTCs. Yeah, the more BTC you get, the better. That's what you want. You want BTC. Chainlink is down like 40% in the last 2 days, says Dr. Faustus. Okay. You guys watching BET. It's up over 1,000% since I bought, Doctor. You better not keep holding it. You're going to lose all those gains. If you don't sell and get out of that puppy, you're going to lose all those gains. That's what happens with these altcoins. They're flash in a pan. You know, they go up and then they crash and burn, and most people end up holding the bag. Most people get burned. Stratus went up from a penny to $11 in 2017. There you go. 5 BTC is a big account. Oh boy. Well, these altcoiners, they'll learn. With time, they'll learn. They'll learn what the deal is. They'll learn the hard way. They'll lose all their money, but they will learn. Hopefully, most of them learn. Some never learn. Triforce Riches and that. Some of them just, go after the get rich quick schemes, right? They go after the get rich quick schemes. And they pursue those their whole life. And they stay broke. Let's see. All these coiners argue with each other. It'll all be worth zero when you are flying the skies as a veteran pilot. Triforce Rich in the house. My God, I've traded gains on Link for 5 BTC because I was up over 1,000%. So yes, that's a good trade. Yeah, get out of that stuff while you can and get Bitcoin. You keep trading, you'll end up losing it all. You'll end up, it's just like the guys at Vegas. They go to Vegas, right? And they're up. Yeah, and then they keep going, they keep going, they keep going. Several days later, they're hawking their Rolex down the street, at the pawn shop to get some more money because they've lost all their money. And then they lose all that money, and then they hawk their car next. And then, another week later, they're like borrowing money from Guido, and they're like $10,000 in debt to the mob. That's how that whole thing works. Let's see. Blue, what risks are associated with providing your Social Security number online, and how do you know it's safe to put that online? There are no risks. Your information's already out there. I hate to break the news to you. If you do online banking or you do anything online, you're online right now. So basically all your information is out there anyway. That ship has sailed, so I don't think you have to worry about that. Cheat Down's in the house. Craig, how's the humidity over Maryland? It's pretty high. Pretty high. Let's see. Getting attacked for nothing here, ET, my God. No, we're just trying to give you some sage advice. Lance is in the house. Thanks, Triforce Rich. BTC is worth a lot now, but who knows what might happen in the future. Well, if you don't have any, you won't find out. You certainly won't benefit from the future if you're a no-coiner. I would not want to be a no-coiner going forward. That would not be a wise move, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but I would not want to be a no-coiner. Not given the track record. Craig, what's your complete net worth? That's hard to say. That's hard to say, but I certainly wouldn't talk about it on a live broadcast like this. Not a good idea to talk about that sort of thing on a live broadcast. You guys are literally not listening to me. We're listening to you. We just don't care about your link gains. Sent an email of a stunning GS spring drive. We'll take a look at that. I'm using Link to buy more BTC. But see, that's what a lot of traders think they're doing. And for a while, they might get away with that. But then sometimes they'll buy some altcoin that they think is going to go crazy, and they're going to increase their stash of Bitcoin with. And then the thing crashes and burns, and now they've lost their money, and they've lost their Bitcoin, and they're back to zero again. That's what we're trying to tell you, is that you're playing with fire. You're playing with fire. This is one we've looked at before. We've looked at this model before. See, it's a little bit too thick at 12.5 millimeters and a little bit on the big size at 40 millimeters. I'd rather it be 38.5 mils by like 12 mils thick. Then I think that would be a green light. So that's the way I look at that for an all-arounder gold stunner. I think it's a little bit big and a little bit thick. Let's see here. Hey, Craig, the Mafia is a business like anything else. Some of our viewers are part of it. maybe even certain rich gang. Well, yeah, that's okay. I don't have any problem with people doing business with the mafia. I'm just not going to borrow money from them. I don't borrow money from anybody, though, so that's the way that works. I'm very, very conservative, says the guy who bought Bitcoin years ago, right? I'm very, very conservative. Megan's in the house. She says, hey, Craig, I wonder if Megan has Bitcoin. Lance, buy some BTC ASAP. He's going to wish 10 years from now, he's going to be saying, damn, I should have listened to those guys. Damn, I should have bought one Bitcoin. If I'd have bought one Bitcoin, I could buy a freaking house with it now. That's what he's going to be saying to himself. And Megan is saying, woot woot. Craig to a big hit after the Craig took a big hit after the sailboat accident. That was a costly accident. Are we talking cryptos, boys? We're talking Bitcoin, lovely Megan. We want Bitcoin, not a whole bunch of altcoins. We want Bitcoin. Megan's here on time. Absolutely. Yes, Chip Wong, we are discussing BTC. Let's see. Dr. Faustus, I really want to get into cryptocurrency. Please, please, dear God, Lance, don't get into cryptocurrency. Buy some Bitcoin and be done with it. Done with it. Don't mess with the damn altcoins. You will get burned. Craig, did you ever own a Coke GMT Master? Yes, I did. I had a Coke that had an oyster bracelet. I had an all-black GMT that had a Jubilee bracelet. Yes. I had a GMT2 that was the Coke. It's exactly what I had for a couple of years. Chief says, what is Bitcoin? I've got a link in the description of this video to a page all about Bitcoin. I believe I do. Let me make sure that I put that link in there. I think I did. But I will confirm right now just to make sure. So I'm pretty sure I did. So there is a page on my website where I go into excruciating detail about Bitcoin. And I just want to make sure that the link is there. And then I'll confirm here. Yes. Yes, there is a prominent link to CraigShipp.com/downloads Bitcoin. It's right in the description of this video. So you can learn everything you need to know about that. Okay. Of course I have BTC, Craig. I got in early. There you go. Megan's nobody's dummy. My brother got me into... Good. And you're holding strong with a strong hand, Megan? Are you holding? Okay. I hope you're holding. You're not tempted to sell. Triforce Rich, Megan, how is Chip doing these days? Last I heard, he shorted a currency successfully. Okay, Lance, Craig, what do you mean by boating accident? Oh, boy. Okay. All right. We'll let Lance in on the boating accident thing. Here's the thing. With Bitcoin, if you have your Bitcoin secured properly, you have what's called your private keys. And usually it's a series of words. It's either 12 words or 24 words. You can choose which way to go, right? Whoever knows those words can access that Bitcoin. Okay, whoever knows those words can access those Bitcoins. So let's say, theoretically, hypothetically speaking, let's say that you had some Bitcoin and you had it secured, and your ex-wife dragged you into court and said, and got a judgment from the court saying, okay, you've got to give up your Bitcoin to this ex-wife. and you tell the judge, well, unfortunately, I lost the Bitcoin in a boating accident. I no longer have it. I no longer have access to it. I had the secret words written down on a little piece of paper, and then the boat sank. And I just don't have access to it anymore. I'm sorry. I wish I did, but that's just the way life goes sometimes. And there's really not much anybody can do about that. There's really not much they can do. They can't prove that you didn't lose the stuff, right? I mean, and there is no debtor's prison. I don't think they can just throw you in jail indefinitely for contempt of court or whatever, right? I mean, they really can't prove that you know the words. You could just say you forgot the words. You know, you're forgetful. I mean, people forget their password all the time, right, to access something, right? And in fact, millions of Bitcoin over the years have been lost because people have forgotten their password or how to access their Bitcoin. So that's the old thing. That's the old thing in Bitcoin is I lost my Bitcoin in a boating accident. You could just as easily say, I lost my Bitcoin in a fire, right? I lost my Bitcoin in a theft. My place was broken into. They stole my keys. I don't have access anymore to the Bitcoin, which can absolutely happen, by the way. I mean, you could write down your secret words and not keep them secure, and somebody could get them, and they could get your Bitcoin, just like that. So it's like cash, man. It's like cash. If somebody else gets your cash, that cash is gone. Bitcoin is just cash, just electronic cash is basically what it is. Let's see here. Craig, out of all the GMT master bezels, which color wave did you like the best? I really liked the Coke, but I liked the all black with the Jubilee bracelet too. Batman is okay. That I wouldn't want the Batman because I would want the Jubilee bracelet, so I'd want the Batgirl. The Pepsi's nice. It's not. It's really a coin toss between those. It really is. They're all really nice, and they all have their pluses and minuses. But I would say any of those are fantastic. I guess if I had to pick one off the top of my head, I'd probably pick the Coke. I think it's classier looking. It's a little bit classier looking. So there you go. And Megan, Chip is right? There you go. Good question. Megan, I mean your brother Chip. Okay. Lance, we say Craig lost all his BTC in a boating accident. Speedboat, sailboat, or pirate boat. Story changes. There you go. Yeah. Megan says, my brother's name was Morgan. He passed last year, though. He got me into hiking, the great outdoors, and BTC. Wow. Well, he sounds like he was a great guy. And sorry for your loss. He sounds like he was a great, great guy. Kevin's in the house. Morning crew, running late today. Monday morning. Okay. Didn't he also get you into Mario Brothers? He always loved that Bowser character. Okay. We like video games, but our parents wouldn't buy them for us. Darn it. There you go. Blue says, I'd go for BTC, but not comfortable logging in a website, giving copies of my driver's license and social identity. Well, what you might want to do then is you might want to get on local Bitcoins and figure out how you can purchase some that way through local Bitcoins. So there you go. I mean, I could sell you some Bitcoin, but I don't really want to sell any of my Bitcoin is the problem. So it would probably be better for you to just get on local Bitcoins and figure out how you can purchase some locally there. That might be the move. Let's see here. But here's the thing: like if you bought them through Coinbase, yes, they're going to go through the Know Your Customer. You're going to take a picture of your driver's license, all that, but they're pretty damn secure. I mean, they're no joke. Their security is pretty good. So I think worrying about your information leaking out of them is it's probably not going to happen. It's like dealing with an online bank. I mean, they're pretty regulated, and I think you would be. I think you have bigger things to worry about than that. For example, not having any Bitcoin 10 years from now would be a real problem, I think. Let's see. Let's see. Why has BTC never been used as intended currency? Seems like most people do not use it as currency. Why? I wouldn't say never. I would say people do. Some people do use it, and I think that if Satoshi Nakamoto, or whoever he or she may be, if they were still around today to talk to about it, they would probably be saying that Bitcoin is doing great. They would probably say that Bitcoin is doing better than they ever imagined it would do. And it's still very, very early days. Very early days. There has to be a lot more adoption. There have to be a lot more people that have Bitcoin before you're going to start seeing it used regularly as currency back and forth, just like all the time. Until then, I think it'll be used for bigger purchases. It'll be used to move large amounts of money around the world, which is being used for right now on a regular basis. I think those are the more of the use cases like right now. And I think as time progresses and there's more and more adoption, then you'll see a lot more businesses starting to accept it. And Visa and MasterCard just announced this week they're starting to get into it. I mean, so you're going to start seeing a lot more adoption over the next 10 years, 10, maybe even 20 years, right? 10 years is not very long this thing's been around. You got to put this in perspective. 10 years into the internet wasn't doing that much, right? It took a long time for the internet to really start catching on. I remember the early days of the internet. I mean, we didn't even dream that we would have video on the internet. Are you kidding me? It was difficult enough to just have a picture on the internet, right? And then video came along, and then live streaming came, and then, this has taken many, many years. So give it a little time. Give it a little bit of time. It will get there. And with the Lightning Network and everything, it'll be pretty amazing. And it's pretty amazing right now that I can send like $50 worth of Bitcoin to somebody literally right away. Depending on the wallets we're using, it might be instant, right? And for very, very low fee, anywhere in the world, right? And I could send $1 million worth of Bitcoin to Timbuktu at a very, very low fee. You can't do that with any other mechanism. You can't wire money like that quickly and at that low a fee. So it's already doing things that are pretty amazing, and it's only going to get more amazing as time goes by, Mike. So, Triforce Rich says, Mike, it's used as currency all the time in drug and human trafficking. More risk-taking retailers are accepting it. Even some watch dealers. Actually, less than 1% of the transactions on the network are deemed to be illicit transactions, and more than 3% of cash transactions are illicit. So there's a lot more in the way of illicit transactions being done with actual cash than there is with Bitcoin. So there you go. Because Bitcoin is not a very good way for criminals to move money, because they can get caught, they can get tracked, they can get found. So that's not the thing. Dr. Fustus says network effects, Mike. We have Visa, etc. BTC is only up against centralized banking, which is a tenet of communism. But what's the end game then? Commodity? No, 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 no. The end game is everybody will be using Bitcoin for a lot of transactions. I mean, it will be commonplace. It'll be a worldwide method of payment. And just about every retailer will accept it. Every individual will accept it. If I'm going out to dinner with a bunch of friends, I might pay the bill and they might all send me Bitcoin to my wallet, to reimburse for that. I mean, it'll be look at Cash App right now. People are sending money back and forth and all, and you can have Bitcoin in there. So yeah, it'll just be a quick, easy way to send money around, and it'll be a way that people save. They'll save with Bitcoin because Bitcoin will be constantly going up in value, whereas fiat currencies like the US dollar will constantly be going down in value. So people won't want to have US dollars parked in their checking account. They'll want to have Bitcoin parked in their account instead and use that as like their savings, right? So I think that's where we're headed, is it will just be the preferred way that people park their money. Now, why would I park it in fiat when that fiat's going down in value constantly? Okay. Here is a 6-digit. Whoops. Oh, what is happening with my computer? Let's try to get this loaded up again. Here is, from Kyle, here is a stunner, a 6-digit stutter, new old stock with stickers. So this is very similar to the one that Brett bought. It still looks like it has the plastic on it. That is a stunner. Stunner alert on the channel, folks. Stunner alert on the channel. Yeah, it's got all the plastic on it. You can see that. That is cool. And that's not a hateful price for a brand new unit, because a date 8 is a lot more money than that. This thing, I'm getting the beach ball. So yeah, I think it's cool. That thing just crashed. I crashed my Chrome. I've got to close a bunch of tabs out, I think. I've got way too many tabs going. All right, I am going to restore the tabs, and then I'll go through and get rid of a bunch of them, but I'll do that after we wrap up, because we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. All right. Oh, shoot. Let me do something here real quick. It's my Authenticator app. Okay. There's that puppy back up again. New with tags. New with tags. I tell you, I think it's pretty cool. I really do. I think it's pretty cool to have a date chest, an all gold date chest. I wonder, Kyle, if that is in fact new. I wonder when it was made, A. And B, I wonder if that has those sleeves, the ceramic sleeves in the bracelet like the date 8s do. That's the only thing that would give the date 8 the edge to me, is that even the 36 mil day date now has those ceramic sleeves in the center links on the bracelet to keep the stretch down. I wonder if they did that on that one. Chrome just quit again on me. For crying out loud. I'm going to have to restart this computer. But in the meantime, I'm going to close a bunch of tabs just to see if that's the problem. But I'm definitely going to have to restart this computer, do a restart. It's been a while since I've done a restart on this thing, so that should probably be a good idea anyway. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do it right now before I forget. I'm going to quit Google Chrome, and I'm going to restart. Quit Skype. The heck is, I got FaceTime open. I've got way too much stuff open. That's the problem. I think I'm going to restart this puppy. Actually, I'm just going to shut it down is what I'm going to do. Give this puppy a little break. It has been running for months. I don't think I've restarted that thing for a month or two. All right. All right. Mike says, it can't ever be used mainstream until more stable price. Oh, no. Not at all. Is that true? I mean, my gosh, if the price keeps going up, people will love it. People will love that. I mean, they'll have no problem with that. The price will stabilize quite a bit over time. You know, as you have it more spread out, more people have it, more liquid. It won't be anywhere as volatile as it is now, but the trend will be up as opposed to down. Like right now with fiat currency, you're losing 2 to 3% every year, and I think more than that, to tell you the truth. But you're losing every year. Your value of your currency is going down. With Bitcoin, the value will be constantly going up. So people will love that. People will absolutely want to keep their money in that. And merchants will want it. They will want to accept it because it'll be going up in value as opposed to going down. So, no, they will absolutely want it. I much prefer getting paid in Bitcoin. If somebody wants to pay me, if they have a choice, okay, I can pay you in fiat or I can pay you in Bitcoin. I would much rather have Bitcoin. Even though it's volatile right now, I'd much rather have Bitcoin because I know long term it's going to be going up, whereas the fiat is going to be going down. So there you go. Southern California weather has been great all this summer. Triforce Rich says 10 years into the Nazi regime, they were booming and were claiming to be the next Roman Empire. Then in 1945, they died. Yeah, that could very easily happen with our current government, the way they're printing money like drunken sailors. Of course, that's an insult to drunken sailors. The way they're printing more dollars, we could definitely have a major collapse. Could definitely happen. Kyle says, not bad down here, actually. Things feel almost normal other than masks. Where are you, Blue? Ohio, good weather for now. Doing a lot of biking. Love the California dry heat, though. It's usually humid here. There you go. Let's see. What matters if it's used for illicit activities anyway? People can do as they want with their cash. Yeah, and like I said, there is more cash is used for more illicit activities than Bitcoin is at this point. So yeah, cash is harder to track than Bitcoin. You'll get caught using Bitcoin. Better move to use cash. Let's see. Epstein was free to do what he wanted with his cash as well. He probably regrets that he didn't disappear with his cash somewhere, somewhere safe. And that young lady that he was working with, his cohort, she probably wishes that she had disappeared somewhere with her cash. I don't understand what those people were thinking. Didn't they know that the long arm of the law was going to come down on them big time? I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get how they could be that rich and that stupid. I guess that is what it is. Where's the BTC Gone Wild girl you had on a while ago? I thought she was coming back on. She's on Twitter a lot. She's very active on Twitter. Girl Gone Crypto is her handle, I think. But she's very much into the altcoins. And I don't really want to talk about the altcoins. She's constantly promoting different altcoins and garbage scams and stuff like that. And I certainly don't want to talk about those here on the channel. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. She wants to come on and just talk about Bitcoin at some point. That's fine, but she's really into the altcoins. Triforce, let me clue. And a lot of the people on crypto Twitter, they call it crypto Twitter, right? A lot of them are into the altcoins. I mean, they're all wanting to get rich quick, right? They're trying to find that 1,000% return. You know, they're all chasing those big returns, and half the time they get burned. They get burned. All money is used for all purposes. Okay, as long as you get outdoors, that's great. Cash needs to be private. I agree. It should be. And there are a lot of people working. I'm rebooting my computer. There are a lot of people working on privacy aspects. And there are going to be layers on Bitcoin where you're going to be able to very privately move money around and so forth. And so that's going to be there. It's just like with communications on the internet, right? There's encoded communications and then there's non-encoded, right? So you're going to be able to have secure transactions with Bitcoin. That's going to happen. And there's not really much that the authorities can do about that. There really isn't. There's no real feasible way that they can stop it at this point. Bitcoin has gotten too big and too many people are into it. And they just announced recently that banks are going to be able to custody Bitcoin now. The government announced that this week. So they've basically given up on the concept of fighting it at this point. They pretty much know that Bitcoin is going to do what Bitcoin's going to do, and they might as well, you know, at least have an opportunity to regulate it and to not regulate Bitcoin, but to regulate the on and off ramps and to try to get their little pound of flesh, like I said earlier, from Coinbase. If somebody sells it on there and they make a profit, you know, government's going to want their tax, right? So I think that's how that's going. Let's see. You know it's going to dump big after Craig does one of these videos. Or it might go up big. Sometimes they go up big after my video, right? Both have happened. The one thing about Bitcoin, you know it's gonna move one way or the other. You know it's gonna move. You can believe they want to change the name Cleveland Indians now. Just lost our logo. Kyle Jet says cash is king. That should be obvious by now. Well, here's the problem, though, Kyle. At some point, they're going to outlaw actual cash. So it's going to be ironic. Bitcoin is actually going to end up being better than actual cash, right? Because Bitcoin, you'll be able to move anywhere around the world, like instantly. You can't do that with cash. It's pretty tricky to move cash around, right? So Bitcoin will end up being better than cash in a lot of ways. That's going to be pretty ironic. Cheetown says, I thought a money order is king. Cash flow is king. I bought a chief hat new and have another one too. Not a chef hat. Chef hat? I love that. Oh, chief. Oh, you're talking about the in the okay. Even though I'm a Dodger fan. Okay, I'm back with you now, Cleveland. You're talking about. Let's see here. Craig, would you rather have an 18-karat gold 6-digit date chest or platinum day date? They go for around the same price. I wouldn't want the platinum date 8. So yeah, I'd go for the date chest. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I wanted to watch it look like steel, I'd just buy a steel watch. I wouldn't buy the platinum. People say, oh, the platinum looks different. Oh, it doesn't look that different. It's okay, but I mean, I'd much rather have yellow gold because it's heavier and everything else. I mean, why the hell? I mean, go with the gold. Go with the gold. Let's see here. Picture that Datejust with a green dial. That might work. That Datejust is just another example of the great deal Brett got. There you go. Craig, how do you compare gold with Bitcoin? We talked about that earlier. I think Bitcoin has a much bigger upside value. Gold is very, very solid investment, very, good long term. Over time, it holds its value well, but it's not going to have the run that Bitcoin potentially will have. I mean, it's too mature, right? See, Bitcoin only has a $300 billion market cap. Gold has like a $7 trillion or whatever, $8 trillion market cap, right? So Bitcoin has a lot more growth potential. That's the thing. Let's see. Yeah, it's early days for Bitcoin, folks. Early days. People think that it's been around for 10 years. That's a long time. That's not a long time. Very early days. Blue, the whole point of BTC is to be virtual gold that is much more practical to move around. That's right. It has a lot of advantages. It can't be faked. They can sell you fake gold, right? You can't fake Bitcoin. It is much more secure if you secure it, assuming you secure it properly. It's very, very secure. Gold, you generally have to pay somebody to secure your gold, right? You have to pay some owner of a vault, to have your gold stored in the vault. It can be a problem securing it. And then the other problem is gold is a lot easier to be confiscated. If the government wants to take your gold, they can find out where your gold is and they can take your gold from you, right? If you properly secure your Bitcoin, it's very, very difficult for them to take it away from you. They need those keys. They need the keys. If you've got the keys properly hidden, there's nothing they can do, right? But the gold, if you got it buried in your backyard or whatever, they come out with some metal detectors or whatever, and they find that gold. Once they find that gold, that's it. It's gone. So there are a lot of advantages to Bitcoin. Let's see. Cheetown says, pay me in fiat. Craig, do you really want me to accept an unreliable, rusty Italian car's payment? Triverse Search says, Blue, the reason BTC is mined is that it is supposed to replicate the limited supply of a precious metal, but instead of having the logistics/security issues of tangible gold, it can be moved quickly. Yeah, well, the whole idea of the miners, proof of work, is it takes a lot of electrical power to produce the new Bitcoin and to secure the network. And it is very hard for a bad actor to try to attack that network and compromise the Bitcoin. 51% attack, very difficult because of the amount of hash rate. And that's why all these altcoins are a joke, because none of them can match the hash rate of the Bitcoin computer network, basically. I mean, it's huge and it's pretty spread out. And it would be very, very difficult for even like the United States government, for example, to try to muster enough computing power to attack the Bitcoin blockchain successfully. So it's a real thing. Where did BTC get its intrinsic value? So the longer around, the more permanent it becomes. Its value is the network that I just talked about. That security. That is really what gives it the value. Is the fact that people trust it and trust that it's secure and are willing to put their money in it and believe in that security. That's what gives it the value. It's just like if you had a whole bunch of vaults, holding gold, and people believe in that, they'll put their money in it and they'll store their money in that. Is Clive Skyping in, Craig? I don't think so. There's a max limit of about 18 million, and it becomes harder to mine as time goes on. The intrinsic value comes from people's beliefs, just like any other store of value. That's correct. That's why gold is valuable, because people want to put their money in it. It's not. It has uses like in jewelry and so on, but the value would be a lot lower than $1,900 an ounce if we were just looking at its use cases as jewelry and stuff like that. The value would be considerably lower. A large part of the value of gold is people wanting to own it as a store of value, and therefore wanting to put their money in it. Triforce Riches in the house. Blue Arc currency is literally green paper. It hasn't had tangible value since it is not backed by gold anymore. The U.S. dollar is strong because it's backed by the petrodollar deal. It's strong because people want it. Same thing. People want it. But see, here's the thing: if they keep printing a ton of it, and people start realizing that it's being debased, at some point people will not want it, and they'll want other things, and that's when you can have hyperinflation, and that's when the whole house of cards can come tumbling down, and it can happen quick, like it did in Venezuela, like it's done a couple of times in Argentina, and like it did in Greece. It can crash quickly. Okay, and it might not happen for years, but we'll see. We will see it all play out. Let's see, turn cash to Bitcoin. There you go. The government is already trying to get rid of change, minting pennies and nickels. Pennies and nickels run at a loss. Okay. If I was going to buy my first BTC, at what price point should I wait for if I didn't want to buy at 9,500? Mike in the house. Well, who knows? If you don't buy it, you may never get another opportunity to buy it. It may not go that much lower. It may be up from here. We don't know. We don't know. And if anybody says they know, they're talking through their hat. They don't know. Will it likely have a pullback? Probably. Is it a 50% chance that there'll be a pullback to like 7,000 or something like that? Maybe. I'd say maybe more like a 20 or 30% chance. But it's possible that the lowest we might see from here is 9,500. We may never see lower than $9,500 Bitcoin again. We don't know. So if I was a no-coiner, I would not wait. I would at least secure at least one whole Bitcoin. So at least I know I have one. And Bree says, just came back from the walk. Okay, cool. Cool. Craig's video influence on BTC's value is inverse to Archie's video influence to the value of Patek Calatravas. Bitcoin is top running crypto. There you go. Bitcoin is the honey badger. Silver moved great last week. Yeah, I've got a bunch of silver also. I've got silver and gold and platinum. And he sent another email. Okay, I've got my email. See if I can get this loaded up. I did reboot my computer. Yeah, I'm not a fan of steel and gold. I'm not a big fan of steel and gold. Some people love them, but I'm not a big fan of the steel and gold. That one looks like it's got a lot of wear on the bezel. The bezel looks smooth. It's had a lot of wear on it. And the picture's definitely like a high dynamic range picture. It's been punched a little bit. So, yeah. Okay. The great thing about gold is that it's been proven to have actual value and technology beyond just looking pretty for jewelry. Yeah, we talked about that, but that value is considerably lower than the $1,900 value that it's going for right now. If you just looked at the value, like using it in jewelry and stuff like that, I mean, it might be worth, $200 an ounce or something. It would be much lower. The vast majority of the value of gold is because everybody's wanting to put their money in it. That's why there's so much gold bullion sitting around, right? I mean, there wouldn't be all that gold bullion sitting around if people were just using it for jewelry. And they wouldn't be mining as much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way down the line. Jaden's in the house. Speaking of securing your Bitcoin, I've heard of Bitcoin exchanges where people have their BTC stolen in the past. That's correct. You should not leave any significant amount on an exchange. That's, again, if you let somebody else custody your Bitcoin, it's like a bank. If I take money and I put it in the bank, I'm trusting that bank to take care of my Bitcoin. If they screw up, I could lose cash. If you put cash in the bank, if you put Bitcoin in the bank, whatever you put in the bank, you could lose that item, right? So you got to trust that entity that you're dealing with. Now, Coinbase is pretty solid. So let's say you've got $50,000 in Bitcoin. I think you'd be okay leaving that at Coinbase. I think that's no big deal, right? But if you've got a couple $1 million worth of Bitcoin, I would get it off of the exchange and use a hardware wallet. I use a Trezor wallet. That's how I would secure a large amount of Bitcoin. But let's say $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, go ahead and leave it on the exchange. You're going to be fine. On Coinbase, not some exchange in China or something, right? I mean, do your diligence. But yeah, it's basically you're letting somebody else custody your property. You better trust them, right? Now, the Bitcoin blockchain has never been successfully hacked. The third parties that are custodying, that are taking possession of Bitcoin, they have been hacked big time. And again, they're usually shady offshore exchanges that get hacked. Mt. Gox was a big one out of Japan, right? Back in 2012, 13, something like that. I had buddies that had Bitcoin sitting on there. I told them at the time, I said, man, don't let your Bitcoin sit at Mt. Gox. Get it off of there. They didn't listen. Some of them got burned. So there you go. Some of them years later got some of their Bitcoin back. The key word being some. Let's see. Travis Rich says, Blue, any currency can be stolen. Tons of BTC scams out there as transactions cannot be reversed unless sent into an escrow account for. Yeah, see, it's cash. It's like cash. Bree and I talked about this today. I said, Bree, if you send Bitcoin to an address, you better make sure that that address is correct and so on and so forth. Measure 7 times and cut once, because it's just like you're handing somebody cash money. Once you hand them that cash money and they leave, that's it. How are you going to get that cash money back, right? It's the same thing with Bitcoin. But they could be on the other side of the world. It's even worse, right? So yeah, you've got to really talk about personal responsibility. Bitcoin is all about personal responsibility and taking these things seriously. Craig, let's see. Craig, can you please list out the use cases for it, fella? Oh my gosh, there's way too many for me to list out. Again, think of it as electronic cash. What could you use electronic cash for? A million things, right? This is potentially as big as the internet itself. This is solving so many problems. There are literally billions of people around the world that are referred to as unbanked. They don't have a bank account. They don't have any way to send money from one person to the other and so on. Now, all they need is a cell phone, and a lot of them are getting cell phones, right? And they can have Bitcoin, and they can send Bitcoin back and forth and do commerce and so on. This is going to empower so many people that have been left out of the world financial market and have been unbanked, if you will. This is going to open up so many opportunities that it's going to be every bit as big as the internet itself. 10 years from now, you're going to say, oh my God, everything has changed, right? And that's what people said 10 years after the internet started. The internet started, and then 10 years later, people looked around and said, oh my God, this is a big deal. right? And I remember when I first got into the internet and domain names and everything and all that stuff. I mean, people laughed at me. They said, "Oh, the internet's not going to go anywhere. You know, it's blah blah blah." You know, but this thing, this electronic cash, if you will, Bitcoin, could be as big as the internet itself, and maybe even bigger. So there you go. Use cases are endless, endless. Use your imagination. It's amazing. Triforce Rich says, Blue, any currency can be stolen, tons of BTC. Okay, yeah. Well, I've read that one. Craig, since you're into gold spring drives, have you looked at the SBWA002 model? I think it was the first one they made. No, I haven't. Maybe during a show you can send me a link. My name at gmail.com, and I'll pull it up and take a look. That's the easiest way for me to take a look at something like that. Craig, some Rolex investors say that 904L stainless steel is the new white gold. Your thoughts? That's a good one. What's the Bitcoin block? What is the Bitcoin blockchain gets hacked? What effect will that be? If the Bitcoin blockchain was successfully attacked, and by successfully attacked, I mean somebody was able to get in and move Bitcoins around and steal Bitcoin and stuff like that, I think that it would be a major problem. I think that the price of Bitcoin would crash. I think it would be, depending on how the hack happened and whether or not they could rapidly fix it or something, it could be the death knell. It could ruin the whole possibility of having sound internet money. It could basically undermine the whole concept, because the whole thing with Bitcoin is you have to be able to rely on the system, because there is no third party that can step in and say, okay, all these transactions over here, we're going to void those and we're going to give you back your money or whatever. There is nobody like that, right? The system itself has to be secure and has to be reliable. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, if you have a centralized thing like PayPal or something, right, they can reverse transactions, they can, figure out and, make you whole or whatever. Yeah, that's not the case with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has to be reliable. And so that's why some of the best coders in the world are working on it, and that's why they're all very conservative about making any changes, and they measure 7 times and cut once, and that's why they're slow moving, and that's why a lot of these altcoiners say, oh, well, it's a dinosaur, we have much faster transactions on our network and so on and so forth. Well, they're not secure. Well, we'll get security later, blah, 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 right? Well, no, you can't do it that way. It has to be secure, right? And so Bitcoin is very secure, and that is why it has gotten the traction that it has, and that's why it's been around for 10 years, and that's why the altcoins all come and go, because they're all garbage. And so Bitcoin is pretty rock solid. That's why they call it the honey badger, right? Can't mess with Bitcoin. All right, we are going to wrap this puppy up. Triforce Rich says, Blue, goodbye Bitcoin, LOL. Too scary for me, but I don't know. Again, there's a link in the description of this video if you want to learn all about what Bitcoin's all about. Lack of understanding is why I'm not sure about it. Yeah, that again, take a look at that page. Trying to understand the risks before jumping in. Absolutely. Well, you should. And look at the link in the description. Study that whole page. There's a ton of information there, and contact me if you have any questions. Triforce Rich, Blue, just do more research into it. People like Carlos and I don't believe in it long term, but Craig does. All 3 of us, I'd say, are quite financially educated, so make your own mind up. There you go. And Blue, but yes, a dumbed down explanation is it is meant to be the substitute for gold in a digital age to cut out centralization, logistic issues, and government control. Absolutely. If you want something that is worldwide, that cannot be shut down, cannot be regulated, by governments and so on and so forth. That's the whole goal of Bitcoin, is to allow people to be their own bank, basically. Okay, I can have my money, I can control it, I can decide who I send it to and when, and nobody can stop that. Nobody can stop me from sending it from point A to point B. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's the concept. And the world has never had that before. Never had that before. In thousands of years, that has not existed. Bitcoin is the only chance, the only one chance for what I just described to happen. If it doesn't work and it doesn't happen with Bitcoin, it ain't going to happen, ever. This is it. This is the one chance. And I think it's going to work. But again, some people don't think it's going to work. We will see. Blue says, I really enjoyed the conversation. Blue, yep, maybe Carlos and I can call in one day and debate Craig. Well, here's the thing. I mean, there's really nothing to debate. Carlos should have bought Bitcoin when I told him to years ago. And anybody that didn't listen years ago when I said buy Bitcoin, I started first publicly talking about it when it was $1,250. I talked about it with friends and other people way before that. But when it hit $1,250 in early 2017, I said, man, we're here now. This thing is real. This thing is gonna last for 10 years. This thing is legit. I just came to that conclusion at that point. Before that, I thought it was very speculative, and I wasn't sure, right? But at that point, I got pretty sure of the whole thing. And that's when I started talking publicly about it, okay? So the bottom line is, anybody that didn't buy then, I mean, it's sitting at close to $10,000 right now. Clearly, they made the wrong choice. Because they could have bought 10 Bitcoin then, and anytime, later on, after it went up tremendously, they could have sold half of it and they'd be playing with the house's money at that point. They'd have all their initial investment back, which is my case, by the way. I have all the Bitcoin that I have is basically free money because I already recouped my initial investment years ago. I sold some Bitcoin and got all my initial investment back. So they could have done the same thing. They could be playing with house money right now if they would have listened, right? So already Carlos is wrong. Already he's been proven wrong, right? It was a wrong decision to not do it. 10 years from now, I'll probably be saying the same thing about $10,000 Bitcoin. I'll be saying, hey guys, if you'd have bought Bitcoin when it was $10,000, you could have sold half of it, made back all your initial investment when it hit 100 grand or whatever, and be playing with the house's money. You could have done that, right? So there's no debate to be had. I'm already right. I'm always right, by the way. You guys always know that. So, on this channel not too long ago, remember we had that big crash after the whole COVID thing? And it went down to $3,800 or whatever? And it was like $4,000. I bought a Bitcoin live on the channel here for $4,000. People could have bought Bitcoin at $4,000 then and then sold it right now. They doubled their money. They could have sold half their Bitcoin, right? And then they'd have all their investment back. They'd still have the other half. Let's say they bought 10 Bitcoin. They could have sold 5 and they'd have all their money back. That was just months ago, folks. Months ago that I bought it right on the channel for $4,000. I bought Bitcoin, right? So there's no debate to be had. I'm already right. So there you go. All right, let me catch up on these things here, and then we're going to wrap this puppy up. Let's see here. JG says, even if Bitcoin becomes widely spread, why would most people choose to spend over normal cash? Because cash is going down in value and Bitcoin's going up. They would rather keep Bitcoin because it's a deflationary currency instead of inflationary, right? So it would be a better place to have your money. That's why they would do it. Cash is going down in value every year. Bitcoin is going up. See the difference there? That's the difference. Kyle says, buy it. That's my opinion. JG, its intention is censorship resistance, which is why it's slow and expensive. To use it as cash, you'd have to store it with another custodian, and that point you have fractional reserve banking. No, you could use, you can use a wallet like the blockchain wallet that is, it's not a third party. You have your keys, you have your private keys, and you can move money back and forth. If your friend has the same wallet, you can move money back and forth. And you wouldn't necessarily put all your Bitcoin in there, right? You'd have Bitcoin in cold storage, like a savings account that's more secure. And then you would just have the Bitcoin that you're using on a daily basis or whatever in your, quote, wallet on your phone. And that, depending on the wallet you use, it doesn't even have to be a KYC wallet. They don't even have to know who you are. So there are ways that you can use it very, very privately if you choose to. There's a lot of flexibility with Bitcoin. A lot more flexibility than with cash. Let's see. I love the goal of BTC. There you go. That's right. It's a good goal. Don't disagree with Craig here. If I was a millionaire like Craig, I'd be putting some money into BTC and playing with house money. I'm just not in a situation where I have the assets to risk. Triforce Rich. Well, here's the thing, Triforce. Why do you think I have the assets to risk? I have invested over the years in different things. I bought Apple stock way back in the day, early. Okay, I've taken risks on a bunch of stocks and a bunch of investments. I took a big risk when I bought domain names years ago. People laughed at me. I bought domain names. They were $70 back then for 2 years. You had to pay for 2 years. You had to register them through Network Solutions because Network Solutions had a monopoly. This was back in 1994, 95, 96. And so it was $70 to register a domain name. And I was registering domain names. Like I had racingcar.com. I had a whole bunch of names that I sold over the years, right? And they were laughing at me. My whole family was laughing at me. Why would you buy that stuff? Who would want a .com domain name? Why would anybody want that? Why would that have any value? You know? And then a few years went by, and then I started having people contact me. Somebody contacted me about Series.com. I don't even know what they're using that for now. Series, SERIES.com. They contacted me and they said, we'd like that name. And I said, $50,000. And they said, okay, send us the wiring information. And they wired me 50 grand. And I sent them the domain name. Okay, racingcar.com. I sold that one for 40,000. It would be worth a lot more now, right? But this was years ago. So, and I still have a bunch of domain names. I sell them occasionally. But here's the thing. You got to take some risks here and there, but they should be calculated risks, and they should have, if it is risky, they should have a big upside. So $70 for a potentially $50,000 upside, to me, that was a risk worth taking. Now, years later, it got cheaper to register domain names. Now you can register them for like $9. The account that I have, my main account, Terra.net, I get them for like $9.30 a year, right, each one. Back in the day, it was $35, man. It was $70. You had to pay for 2 years up front. And so there was some risk there, right? But there was also significant reward. That's how you build money, is you take some risks here and there, but you got to have a good upside if you're taking that risk. So just a little bit. Now, that is financial advice. So there you go. So I really have to believe... let's see. So I really have to believe in it long term rather than just going on a gamble. I don't, so I'm out for now. Short term, I think BTC has and can still do very well. Okay. I don't know what you're going to invest in that is a better investment, but if you can come up with a better investment, please let me know. I'll look at it. See you all later. I have salmon to cook. I've got to go too. My gosh, it's 6:30. We've been going an hour and a half. We're overtime. We started early and we're going overtime. I love Craig's optimism because he believes in the resistance, but my pessimistic view is the evil always finds a way to corrupt everything, and they'll take BTC eventually. Well, here's the thing, and this is the thing, Triforce Rich. People, I see people all the time on crypto Twitter. Oh, the banks are getting involved now, that's not what we wanted, and Visa's getting involved and MasterCard's getting involved and so on, and that's not the original vision, we don't want these people involved and so on and so forth. Here's the thing, I don't understand these people. These people are nuts. I put a comment in there. I said, listen, here's the deal. Given enough time, everybody is going to want Bitcoin. Everybody's going to want a part of Bitcoin. That's just going to happen. We can wish all we want that it ain't going to happen, but that's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to want in on the game. All the big players are going to want in on the game. Even Warren Buffett eventually is going to want in on the game. They're all going to want in on the game. Sitting and bitching about it ain't going to change anything. But the bottom line is there ain't going to be enough Bitcoin to go around. And to me, that's a good thing for those of us that have it, right? I'm tickled pink that all these people want to get in on the game. Eventually, they might even offer me enough money where I'd sell them some of my Bitcoin. That would have to be a lot of money. Like we're talking $1 million per coin. That's what it would take probably to buy mine, right? This is a strong hand here, right? So the fact that they all want to get involved, that's just real world. That's just the way it is. Of course they're all going to want to come in. This is a rare asset with a hard cap of 21 million units with like 3 million already lost. And it's a worldwide thing. And anybody can buy it. And you don't think that they're going to want in on that game? Especially since Bitcoin has established itself as the number one player by far, that none of the altcoins are even in the game. I mean, that's a pretty good bet. It was a riskier bet 4 or 5 years ago. It's not nearly as risky right now. So there you go. Let's see. Agree there, Craig. You need to take risks to get returns. For me, it's just not BTC at the moment, but I'm building up the reserves to make a splash soon enough. Apple also helped me. Yeah, I sold my Apple too soon. It kept going up. I had a big profit on my Apple stock, and I cashed out, right? But it kept going up. You can't always time these things properly, but I was up like 40% or something. I said, this is insane. I cashed that out, and then it kept going up, right? Let's see. Paul says, they can't make BTC. That's like saying they'll stop math. They can't take BTC. That's like saying they'll stop math. That's the whole point of Bitcoin. It can't be taken or confiscated. Yeah, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think they can shut it down. I don't think the U.S. government even wants to at this point. Matter of fact, they've pretty much come out and said they don't want to. So I think that ship has sailed. I think it's here for the duration. Triforce Rich, thanks for the chat, Craig. I consider you a mentor, so I always enjoy these chats. I do agree with you, though. There are some nuts in the BTC community that make the community look very bad. Yeah, but it's like any community, right? Paul's in the house. At the most, they can make it difficult to exchange for dollars, but at one point, you won't have to. There you go. Better hope that blockchain doesn't get hacked. Yeah, if they're able to successfully hack the Bitcoin blockchain, that will be the death note. That'll be it, right? But They've been trying for 10 years. The best hackers in the world have been constantly attacking it for 10 years, and they have been unsuccessful, so I'm not betting on them. Here's the lovely Bree Fit Dance. We're going to call it a day, and do go and check out her social media and all that good stuff. Let's see. Paul says, LOL, you can't hack blockchain. That's the whole point. The fact that there's no centralized server or source to attack is where the value is. It's distributed. Well, it's Paul. The reason it's so powerful is the amount of hash power that the Bitcoin blockchain has. For a 51% attack, it would take a huge amount of resources, and it just wouldn't be feasible. Now, a lot of the altcoins, they can absolutely be hacked because they have no resources. They have no hash power, right? The Ethereum has had several problems over the years, right? And it's garbage. So yeah, but the Bitcoin blockchain has proven to be extremely robust. JG says, sent the link about the Seiko to your email. Hope you check it out. Okay, interesting, Paul. Oh, okay, well I'll pull that up. Let me pull that up real quick here before I wrap. You took the time to send the email. We will take a look at it. Oh yeah, these are interesting. These early ones, to me that power reserve on those is kind of distracting. I don't mind the power reserves on the more modern ones, but the power reserve on some of those vintage ones is pretty distracting. But yeah, that's an interesting looking piece. Definitely interesting looking piece. I mean, if you could get a good buy on one, it would be fun to have. But yeah, that power reserve indicator is a little bit distracting on some of those older ones. Some of them it's even bigger than that and even more distracting than that. But that's a cool piece. Abso-positively-lutely. All right, BreeFitDance.com. We're going to wrap this puppy up. Thank you very much for chiming in, and this has been an emergency broadcast regarding Bitcoin and all aspects thereof. Thanks for watching. Hey, click subscribe and click the little bell.